I'm Robert Baumgardner, along with Scott Hamlin and Harry Rowe. We are co-authors of Reported Investigations 281, Lithofacies of the Wolfcamp and Lower Leonard intervals, Southern Midland Basin, Texas. The study was funded by the Mud Rock Systems Research Lab here at the Bureau, one of the industrial associates consortia that we have here at the Bureau, to follow up on RI0277, which was a regional study of the wolfberry throughout the Midland Basin. RI0281 was conceived to be a more focused study stratigraphically and geographically to give you a more detailed understanding of what the mud rocks are in this interval within the broader context of RI277. Generally speaking, the target audience for RI281 is anyone who's interested in mud rocks in general, and more specifically, anyone who's interested in the mud rocks of the Wolfcamp and the Lower Leonard intervals in the Midland Basin. The Wolfcamp is interesting for a couple of reasons. It's a challenge to describe, and let me just give you an example of what that looks like. If you just look at this black rock, you really can't see very much. So we have to come up with creative techniques for describing this rock in ways that haven't been tried before, because these mud rocks are inscrutable, is the word I like to use for them. They're hard to understand, and they don't give up their secrets easily. And another reason they're interesting is because they're just within the confines of the Midland Basin. The Wolfcamp varies from a mega conglomerate, and when I say mega, I mean limestone blocks that are hundreds of feet on a side, sliding off the carbonate shelves down into the basin, all the way up into the middle of the basin where it's mud rock, with the very tail ends of those carbonate debris flows out there in the middle of the basin that have traveled dozens, if not scores of miles. What's new in this study is a technique that has become quite in vogue these days, and that's using one of these XRF guns to bombard the core at specified intervals so that we can get very detailed elemental information about the rocks that you can't get any other way. X-ray fluorescence is a technique whereby you use X-rays to bombard a sample, and it could be anything. You could bombard this ring and it would tell you the percentage of gold that's in it. But what we do is bombard the core with the XRF tool. It tells us what the elements are and in what proportion they are in the rock, everything from aluminum to zinc. Knowing the chemical content of the rock, we can then make determinations about where the sediments came from, what's happened to them since they were deposited, and what the environment was where they were deposited. I'd say the most unexpected finding, there were probably two. One was the lateral continuity of some of the very small carbonate beds that we saw. We were able to map those over an area of 1,800 square miles, which is about the size of 2 regular-sized counties in West Texas. And the vertical discontinuity of the rocks, that is, for example, TOC, total organic carbon, changes radically within a matter of inches from almost no total organic carbon at all to 6%, and then back to almost zero within a foot. The most unexpected thing we found was the abundance of land plants in these basinal mud rocks. It was a little bit beyond the scope of RI281, but it's been published, it's out in the literature now. It came out within the same month that the RI came out. But what we found was that we got a CT scan done of one of the cores, and in the process of looking at that CT scan, we saw what looked like fern fronds in the middle of the core, which you couldn't see on the surface, obviously. After that, we decided to do a study of every core we could find in the core warehouse and look at those broken core ends of every one of those cores and see if we could find more of those land plants. And in the process of doing that, we looked at, with the help of a research assistant, something like 13,000 core ends, something over 2,000 feet of core, And in 35 different cores that we looked at, we found land plants in 14 of them. The value of RI-281 for explorations in the Midland Basin is similar to the value of RI-277 for those same operators. And that is, RI-277 gave them a regional context into which to put their piece of the puzzle. RI-281, on the other hand, gives them very detailed information about the stratigraphic interval that they're interested in. Allow them to take this information that we've gathered on a foot-by-foot basis in a lot of cases and apply that to the mud rocks that they're interested in wherever they're exploring.